New research shows the most obese patients are costing the NHS an average of £1,871 a year each. By comparison, overweight people cost the health service £1,143 a year. The health service has already been labelled broken by the current Labour government, so should we make it two-tier? Should overweight people have to pay for NHS treatment? Michael?
No, absolutely not. I think this is a nonsense idea. I mean, for a start, for one, I think weight has a lot to do with genetics. So for some people, it's very easy to stay skinny, and for some people, it's very easy or very difficult to become thin or to lose weight. Obviously, it's not purely genetic, it's also behavioural, but there's a mix of both. I also think this would be a very slippery slope. So if someone gets colon cancer, do you say, how much bacon did you eat during your life? And if they've eaten a lot of red meat, you say, therefore, you're going to have to pay for your cancer treatment. What if someone goes on a ski holiday and comes back with a broken leg? Do we make them pay for their operations and physiotherapy? So I think once we start telling people that if you can be blamed for your illness in any way or in any shape or form, you're going to have to pay for your treatment, we'll be in a pretty dark place as a country.
Esther, I mean, that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Because
no, it doesn't.
It's not just life. It's not just lifestyle, is it? We're not when somebody is obese or overweight, you can't just pin it on them and say, well, look what you did to yourself.
Yes, you can. Look, I think there's something to be said about, you know, not necessarily the genetic element, but actually the family you're born into. So if you're overweight or severely overweight from the age of 9, the likelihood of you being overweight for the rest of your life is very high. Now, the kinds of people that are overweight from the age of 9 come from overweight families. So it's because of the lifestyle that your parents have given you and, you know, around sort of diet and nutrition. So there's something to be said there. But we need to make it very inconvenient to be unhealthy. I mean, the fact that we have an aging population, we have socialized healthcare, and then we have sort of generally unhealthy lifestyle compared to our European sort of neighbours. It's like the worst of both worlds, right? And I think there's something to be said about taking responsibility for your health. Gym membership costs me £37 a month. I'm pretty health conscious. I think it's actually unfair that I'm being made to subsidise people that don't actually pay attention to their health. They can be in Wetherspoons from like
if we're going to be evidence-based.
But I also don't think that we should limit this to obesity. I think it should. The reason why I say it should be lifestyle related, because obesity is costing the NHS a lot of money, but so is smoking and alcoholism. We should be tackling all of those lifestyle choices as opposed to just obesity. Because if we just say, oh, it's just because you're fat, no, it's because of the consequences of being fat, what it does to your body, what it does to your organs. And the same argument can be made for alcoholism and for smoking.
But then what you've said there is that we need to make it inconvenient to be obese.
To be unhealthy.
To be unhealthy, OK. But that suggests that actually the environment that we're in is certainly a contributing factor.
Oh, absolutely. No, and there's a lot to be said about sort of food companies, the kinds of things that go into preservatives, sugar culture, binge drinking culture. Absolutely, and there are many ways to tackle that. But look at smoking. We have some of, I think, the lowest smoking rates amongst adults in Europe. I think it's around 13%. And the reason why we have that is because of decades of a targeted effort by the government to obviously tax smoking, but also to make it really inconvenient to smoke. You can only smoke indoors. But smokers don't
pay for their treatment. I want to take as many calls as we can on this.
Well, they kind of do, because they pay a lot in taxes.
Well, they pay a lot in tax, but they don't pay for their treatment directly.
But that indirectly goes to pay for it.
Peter's in Kent. Peter, what do you think? Do you think obese people should be charged to use the NHS?
If the obesity is caused by themselves and not by an underlying issue, then yes, I do. But first of all, because I would classify myself as morbidly obese, but I'm waiting for an injection in my back at the moment, but I would even pay to get an appointment with my doctor. I've not seen my doctor in 2-3. I can't get an appointment. So, but that's going off the subject. But if you as a person have made yourself or put yourself in a situation where you need to be hospitalised or you need treatment because you have caused yourself to become obese, then I believe you should be made to pay for treatment. But if it's something whereby somebody has an underlying issue and there's nothing they can do about it, that is a different kettle of fish.
Peter, in your situation, is it as simple as to say that you have done this to yourself? Would you admit that freely?
No, I haven't lost it. I used what happened. I used to walk everywhere, and I was about 74 kilos, and all of a sudden, I started having problems with my knees and my back, everything that through wear and tear, this, that, and the other, and all of a sudden, I can't even walk 50 yards down the road. And because of that, and I'm stuck in a first floor flat.
But
I
what we're
can't
talking...
get out to
Sorry, Peter, what we're talking about is luck. What's happened to you has been bad luck. The injuries to your knees, which have prevented you doing the kind of exercise that Esther's talking about. You're being... Then you're being...
That's not bad luck at all.
Hit the illness.
It's not bad luck to suddenly put on 50 kilos extra weight. That's not bad luck. That takes time.
The caller had an injury which meant that he couldn't exercise.
No, I know, but we're talking about obesity. That doesn't happen because you slip and fall. That happens over months and years of a lifestyle choice of not eating well and not exercising.
Everything changed for Peter after his injury.
No, I get that. But
that was the point at which he put on weight. And that's a story that a lot of people, I think, would echo.
It's not just about
things happen to you in life.
It's about what you eat as well.
Which take those...
That's about 90% of it.
OK, well, listen, we're going to take more calls, Esther. Michael, Jayne's in London. Jayne, do you think it makes sense to charge obese people for their NHS treatment?
No, because those people have already paid. And before I start, good morning, Matthew.
Good morning.
Good morning, Michael.
Good morning.
Navarra Media, big up.
Oh, thank you very
much. Good morning,
much.
Esther. I'm a nurse for 31 years. I've never seen so many starving people as I have in the last 10 years. I have people with malnutrition, everything. And if we were to go down the route of saying people are responsible, never mind depression, mental health issues, all those things, I wouldn't have any patients. And they're taxpayers too. So no, I don't agree with it.
They've paid up front for their treatment.
Not enough.
And you're saying, Jayne, that what...
Not enough.
Would you be able to assess, Jayne, whether somebody was responsible for their condition? The practical side of this is that somebody comes in through your doors and they say, here I am, yes, I'm obese, and they're assessed on that basis. Can you tell, would you ever be able to tell how much of that was their responsibility?
Well, holistic care is the way I was taught. There's always a reason behind somebody putting on weight, okay? And we have to delve into that before we can help people to start losing weight. But they are not the major cause of loads of NHS treatment. And I can say that up front. Sorry, but Esther, who spends £37 on the gym a month, many of my patients don't even have that a month to buy their shopping.
Yeah, and yet somehow they're in such... They take in so many calories that they happen to have a BMI over 25. How does that work? They don't have money to go to the gym, but they have money to walk to Tesco and buy unhealthy food. Listen, I think this idea of trying to remove responsibility from what people choose to put in their bodies is very unhelpful. I completely understand that mental health plays an aspect into how people just treat themselves generally, and I get that. However, if when we medicalize things like obesity and being overweight, we take the responsibility from the individual and we actually say the person doesn't have the autonomy to get better. If you can choose to eat a sausage roll from Greggs, you can choose to eat an omelette with a salad. Yes?
OK. Let's hear back from Jayne. Jayne, do you want to respond to what Esther said?
Yeah, sorry, Matthew. I agree with those points, and that's the point. I'm there to support people and to help them make healthier choices, not to admonish them.
Okay.
No, I agree with that.
Let's take another call. Stephen's in Aberdeen. Stephen, should obese people be charged for their NHS treatment?
Well, the only thing I could say is if you're actually walking in the shoes of people that are in situations like this, you could then actually, no disrespect to your colleague today, Esther, actually talk rather than, and have a knowing. I had a work injury about 6 years ago. Before COVID, it went absolutely through the roof. The mental health is absolutely atrocious. Yeah, I've always been like a wee bit overweight, and I would deem myself at the moment, Matthew, as what we'd call obese. Now, that concerns me greatly. And yes, I take on board about the fact of, you know, people, what they put in their mouth and so forth, you know, and yes, you go to whatever. But to actually have a proper balanced diet, sadly to say, it's not as cheap as buying the junk. Now, where I am, I strongly believe, because I try as best as I can to be balanced, and unfortunately the physical exercise, I maximise it so that I'm in pain. And I find it very, very discouraging, and no disrespect to any of you today or previous callers, I find it very discouraging that people are deeming this as a blanket cover. My condition is due to the addiction of prescribed medication, and yes, if I could get off them, I would be like the road runner, beep, beep, you know. But I can't. I'm relying on the system to the best that I can. I try my, I hope this isn't the word, a swear word, damnedest to get off it. It's not your responsibility. It's not the NHS's. I am accountable for who I am, for where I am. But where I am, I can't make any changes with the flick of a switch. And I take on board what Esther said about, you know, years of it and so forth. And I respect that, and I really, really do. How do I change it with what I can do and with what the system can offer me? But if it was somebody that was serving the McDonald's for breakfast, lunch, dinner, yeah, you pay for it. But in a situation that is genuine, then no.
You're also going to be, I mean, Stephen, you're also going to be dissuaded, discouraged from seeking treatment, aren't you? If you're in your situation and there's a price attached to that, and that treatment surely could be the difference that it makes to Stephen.
Well, I mean, I think there is something to be said about the complete lack of support. And I think part of that is the culture that we live in, but also sort of normalising, having actually the government supporting, getting people of a healthier weight. I get that it's very difficult, particularly when you've lived a lifestyle where that's all you know. I was saying that, you know, one of the biggest indicators of people becoming obese in later life is whether they're overweight as children. Now, you can't choose really what you eat as a child. That's what your family feeds you. And in many ways, the people's choices are taken away from them. Obviously, as an adult, you have a bit more autonomy and you can make those choices. But again, it's about the culture and support. Yeah. I'm not just saying people should just lose weight because, you know, it's easy. Of course,
the other element in the room, there's an elephant in the room we haven't considered, which is Ozempic, right? So there are lots of people in public health who are thinking, look, obesity is costing the NHS lots of money. Now, I don't think that's really the fault of people who are obese. I say that's more societal. But we do have a drug which people can take, which has a sort of almost 100% success rate of people losing weight.
But has horrible side effects.
Side effects can be really rough.